Robin here from Hooking Outside the Lines, and I want to talk today about ply and how many ply do I need, or what type of ply yarn do I need? Um, I often get asked this question, and I think people are hoping for like a one quick answer. Yes, you need this. Um, and unfortunately, it's not that simple. Um, but it is once you understand why I say it's not that simple, it becomes much clearer. And so when you are out shopping for yarn or people are talking about yarn, you will be like, I understand what they're talking about. Or you might be able to help them understand what they're talking about because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding around what is apply and is there such thing as um, a universal number of ply that is right for a certain punch needle, for example, when we're talking about that. And um, so, yeah, we're going to dive into it. What is a ply? What am I talking about? What is ply? And so, ply is the number of fibers. Here we go. So, just try and get it clear. So, this piece of yarn is 3 ply because when you untwist it, when you just kind of undo that twist that's in there are 3 obvious sections that come apart that are, the fibers have been sort of spun gently together, but, those 3 fibers are then, wound together in a 3-ply yarn. So this is a 3-ply yarn. However, you can have different types of 3-ply yarn, and that is the thing people often forget. So I'm gonna show you this, which is actually it's a very light color on me here. Let's see, would it be better on this? No, let's find something darker for you to see it against. Um, Here we go. We're gonna use that. So if you see, I've untwisted it. There is 4 plies in this yarn. But look how thin this yarn is. This is actually a tapestry wool, an old tapestry wool. Um, and does it even say on here? No, it doesn't. But if I said, "Oh, I want a 4-ply yarn," and somebody was like, "Well, here, this is 4-ply. It's wool, it's yarn, it's 4-ply." Is it ideal for punching with? Certainly not with just 1 strand. You would have to put multiple strands in it. So the point of this is that plies can be different thicknesses. You can have a really fine ply, a little bit thicker ply, or you can have a much thicker ply. And here is an example. Let's see if I can untwist this a little bit. Um, Here we go. This one will be much more obvious. So this is a Violet Jane that I'm sort of just checking the edge of here. And this too is a 3-ply, but out of the ones I just showed you, this one is much, much thicker. So if you can see there, so those are the 3-ply out of that. And this is our rug weight Violet Jane 3-ply. So if you're wondering what they are, this is the thickest one that I have here to show you, but it is a 3-ply and it is a rug weight yarn. However, um, this is our fine, what we call fine for the Violet Jane. Oops, upside down. But it is also a 3-ply. It just those plies are a little bit skinnier or lighter weight, have less fiber in them. Um, so they come to a finer yarn altogether. So both of these are a 3-ply yarn. One is thicker, one is finer. So is it helpful information to know how many plies are in a type of yarn for punching? And my answer is usually no. The ply is kind of irrelevant in terms of um, giving you information about the thickness of that yarn because the plies on their own can be done in multitude of different ways. And so that is just like one piece of the puzzle, but it is not even the most important piece. Now, what I think, especially for a lot of Canadians that hook or punch using Briggs and Little, which I do too. It is a wonderful yarn. So the 2 that I carry in stock here are Heritage and Super. Now, Briggs and Little is Canada's oldest running mill, and they use a very consistent ply throughout all of their different types of yarn. They have other brands or other sort of types of yarn within their collection. But these 2, although one is called Super, it is a rug weight yarn. So again, back to very similar to my Violet Jane. I can use Super or my rug weight Violet Jane in any of the regular size punch needles. They work perfectly. The thickness just fits in lovely for those regular needles. Super is a 4-ply, and the Violet Jane is a 3-ply, and it's just because those weights of each of the plies in them is different. The 3-ply is a bit thicker, the 4-ply is a little bit less, and so there are 4 of them. In the end, you get the same thickness. You get that the strand of yarn in here is about, let me show you, strand on this side. They are very, very similar. It actually looks like the green is a bit bigger. In the end, they're pretty much the same when you are punching. So you do regular needle, you do the same gauge, either 6 stitches per inch for lines or outlining, and then 4 stitches per inch for filling it. So back to our Briggs and Little. Out of this mill, because they are consistent with their ply, and they make a variety of different ones. They use 2-ply in their heritage and 4-ply in their super. What that means is those plies are all exactly the same, meaning whether you're putting them in the 2 or in the 4, they are the same weight. So this pink heritage 2-ply is exactly half the thickness of the super, which is the 4-ply. Okay, but there is no universal guideline as to how thick a ply. So any mill can decide when they are spinning their fibers how thick those plies are going to be. It just happens that Briggs& and Little is very consistent, and they use the same thickness of ply in their different yarns. So it is, they also have a 1-ply yarn, and they have a 3-ply yarn, and they have their 2 and their 4. So you can understand, or you can imagine what the weight is going to feel like if you know what heritage like is. And I say, well, super is double that. That's double the thickness of these 2. It's just not always true when you change brands or change companies. Not all companies work like them. So in our Violet Jane, which I absolutely love, as you know, we have our fine yarn, which is this green, but it is a 3-ply. And then we have the rug weight, which is a also 3-ply, bigger plies. So you might be wondering, okay, now I'm more confused than ever. If ply is not helpful, how do I know what I need in terms of weight of yarn or type of yarn? And unfortunately, there again, no one little quick answer. What I'm going to show you is a series of different brands. So this is just something I had on my shelf. It is a mass-produced velvety kind of yarn. And these companies that sort of produce in for big box stores and stuff, they have come up with a system of numbering. Let me just see if I get it. So this is a number 9, which is, what do they call it? A super bulky yarn here. Now, this yarn works beautifully in a rug weight, in a regular punch needle. So if you are wondering, absolutely, you can punch with this in any of your regular size needles. Here's another one that has a similar, this is 5. It also is, this is bulky. Their numbering system, again, is universal amongst these companies. They have sort of standardized it for themselves. But these are sort of the big companies. These are not your local or smaller mills. They don't have such a numbering system, or they, don't use it. What they do have is a gauge on the back. And if you're a knitter or a crocheter, you're familiar with the idea of gauge, and you'll get to learn what that is. But if you're not, and you are like, I don't want to get into all that, that is fine too. You just need to know how it fits into your needle. So if you have a bunch of yarn and you want it to slide through here, you want it to slide with just enough. I'm going to put a bit through here. What I call like a little bit of, you want to feel a little grit in there. I mean, it's not gritty. It's super soft to slide through, but you want to feel like it is not going to get stuck. And it's also not going to fall out super easily. So I just threaded my needle. And if I just slide it back and forth, and if you are buying an Oxford needle, you always get the red yarn in it. Keep that red yarn in the box and keep it for reference point too, because you'll feel like, does it have enough grip so that I can feel it slide through? Nothing's catching, but it's also not just falling out. Like, yes, eventually this could fall out, but it's not just going to, with regular movement, your thread is going to stay in there. So if it is too fine, it will slip through, and it won't punch nicely. Your loops won't hold on nicely. So I do recommend keeping that yarn for reference and just get a feel for what does that like. Same goes for your regular. You want to keep track. In terms of other language you will hear about yarn is things like worsted weight, fine weight, sock weight, bulky weight, rug weight. And again, there's no universal body that manages this. So from country to country, it could change. From brand to brand, it can change. Once you get used to your brand, again, Briggs and Little is great for this. Violet Jane is great. They are going to be consistent for your punch needles. The fine is for any of your fine punch needles, and your rug weight is perfect for any of your regular size needles. Same goes Briggs and Little. I use Heritage and Super. Those are my two favorites in the Briggs and Little. In other brands, I would call it worsted weight. Your fine is comparable to a worsted Aran weight, depending. Your bulky is comparable to, well, I call it, it could be comparable to any bulky. So as we saw on these sort of brands, they called these bulky. They both work, even if they have super bulky. Sometimes they have different brands on them. And if you have some that you're like, okay, but I want to use this, is put 2 strands. So if you have sock weight and that is really fine, or lace weight yarn, and you're like, but I like the color, I like the texture, try putting 2 or 3 strands. I have done this with my tapestry yarns. Um, Even though, remember this at the beginning, is a 4-ply, it is still way too fine for this. So I could put 3, even 4, and you do a little test. You check it out. How does it feel? How does it behave? Should I go in every hole, every row, skip a hole, skip a row? Um, you can really have fun with playing with multiple strands in your fine needle or in your regular needle. Um, Sky is the limit in terms of creativity, imagination, and just playing with what you have to see what works. But don't get hung up on this word ply, because really it is almost, in my opinion, irrelevant in terms of any universal information. It is only relevant within a certain brand, and even then, it's not always helpful information. Much more important to think about the weight, the overall weight of it, um, and to test it out to sort of feel like what it feels like in your needle, and is it going to give you the look that you want on the other end. So my go-tos are always the same. Obviously, Violet Jane, my favorite, and the Briggs and Little work beautifully. But I absolutely still love to play with things like everything that's behind me is often leftover knitting project stuff, and things that you might not typically expect in a rug. And I don't put these on the floor. I will put that caveat. If you are going to use alternate fibers like this that are synthetic fabrics, they won't wear as well on the floor. For the most part, they will compact like very quickly, much more quickly than wool, and they will melt. So again, if you're using alternate fibers, anything with synthetics, uh, if you are going to put heat, I would do it from the back, and I would do it for 1 or 2 seconds only when steaming your rugs. If you are using, any of these good quality 100% wool rug or wool yarns, you can absolutely steam them on the front of your rug with a wet damp towel, and it will, help them behave the way you might want them to behave if your loops aren't all sort of perfectly even. So I hope that was helpful. I know plies can be confusing, but it's one of those things. Just think about it as the number of strands that went in there, and that each company, each maker, each spinner that is making the yarn can decide how thick or how teeny tiny those strands are. And so from one brand to the next, it could be totally, totally different and not relevant at all. Much more important, the overall weight of the yarn with all those plies twisted together, that will let you know if it works well in your punch needles or not. Now, for rug hooking, you can use any of these, obviously. You don't need to worry about it fitting into a needle. What you need it to do is pull through your backing in a way, again, that you like and that is pleasing to you. So again, plies irrelevant. It is really about what you like. So I don't like to pull loops with thicker yarn, but not everybody does. It is a little bit harder on your wrist, and it depends on the backing you are using and how big the holes are in your linen or monk's cloth or um, rug warp, for example. Whereas the finer, some people don't like too fine because then it's, you have to go in every hole. So there's pros and cons to everything. And I always say, enjoy, you have to enjoy it. So what works best for you and the look that you want and what feels good to you. So if you have any more questions about ply or need clarity on everything, please let me know if this was helpful. I'm always happy to answer questions. Thanks for watching.